cruelty. Absurdism.
Cockatoos!
Such cracker, such cracker, such cracker, such cracker. Such cracker, such cracker, such cracker, such cracker.
Such cascades of cockers, 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 such cascades of cockers. Dogs have fleas, dogs have fleas.
An epic.
Or to turn and run. Give him good grub, yum, 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 from Mother Courage, so he knows where to point his gun.
Hello, I'm Janet Boudreau, a theater historian. These three overlooked but influential styles of theater have changed the way we view theater itself. Today we will take you on a journey through the history of these styles and how they shape modern theater. First, we will look at theater of cruelty. Rising to popularity in the 1930s, Antonin Artaud ruled the cruelty stage with his show Spurted Blood. This is a frightening performance of screaming bright lights and blaring music meant to put the audience in extreme discomfort. Today, Antonin Artaud himself is going to be helping us explain this unexplainable style. Good evening. So, Mr. Artaud, it's easy to tell that your style is a little macabre. Could you elaborate on that? Mr. Artaud?
Sorry. A theater of cruelty is an assault on the senses. No barriers, no boundaries, no anything. I was inspired by this performance of Balinese dancers in the early 1930s.
Mm-hmm. What purpose did you want your style to serve? What's the appeal?
Like I said, I wanted it to be an assault on the senses. Lights flashing, shocking visuals. I wanted the audience to feel weak and powerless, so they understand what the actors are going through. The appeal is the adrenaline. I want to spark fear and discomfort. Are you uncomfortable right now?
Well, I think that's all the time we have for now. Thank you, Mr. Artaud.
With pleasure.
Toad was a troubled man, to put it lightly. He was a surrealist with an opium addiction and was diagnosed with something called incurable pain delirium. He was put through the trials of a broken mental health care system and was treated with shock therapy. His plays are inspired by his deliriums, and A Spurt of Blood, arguably his most famous, is a strong example of this. It's believed that he wanted to show the audience everything from his point of view. He was a little crazy. Artaud leaned heavily on his visuals. Flashing lights, oversized stage puppets and props, groaning, screaming, gore, verbal incantations, all the nitty-gritty made in order to just make it crazy.
Well, I think that's a wrap on Theater of Cruelty. Now on to the equally confusing style, Theater of Absurd. Invented in the 1940s, absurdism was a reaction against realism, but for a different reason. In early August of 1945, American fleets dropped a bomb on the cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, killing millions. A man named Albert Camus, another important name in absurdism, concluded that life was meaningless and lacked any hope because the bombing just made no sense to him. Filled with nonsensical dialogue as well as puns, repetition, and unrelated dialogue, absurdism is meant to just not make sense. Samuel Beckett and Eugene Ionesco were two very influential absurdist playwrights with a very large array of working spanning years. Such works consist of Ionesco's The Ball Soprano and Beckett's Waiting for Godot. A man named Martin Esslin was the one to come up with the term, the theater of the absurd, inspired by Camus' poem. He will actually be joining us today to teach more about absurdism and what it just means. So, Mr. Esslin, how would you describe this idea of absurdism?
A lot of playwrights shared the idea that the human struggle of finding a purpose and controlling fate just cannot happen. Essentially, humankind is hopeless, so why would anything make sense?
Where did this idea called Theater of Absurd come from?
I once read this poem written by a man named Albert Camus called The Myth of Sisyphus. It's about a man who has been punished by the gods to roll up a large boulder to the top of a hill, only for the rock to roll back down so he can start all over. For me, it represents the pointlessness of life and the punishment Sisyphus was given.
I think we have time for one more question. What would you say to be the biggest influence of absurdist playwrights?
Well, I'm not sure it was exactly the same for everyone, but the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were a huge influence on Albert Camus and his work.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Now we'll be interviewing two people that know a lot about Theater of Absurd.
Hello,
What are we doing here?
what do you think?
What do you think?
Repetition, one love.
I thought we already played.
We're doing a round two.
Right now?
That's what I said.
Who are you?
I'm Jenna.
What do you want from us?
I want to interview you so that our audience can know more about your show.
But we just did.
What? How?
We just did.
Ha! Repetition, to love.
I think we'll see ourselves out.
But I can only see you.
Exactly.
Well, if that doesn't display absurdism, I don't think I know what does. Finally, we come to epic theater. Rising to prominence in the 1920s, epic theater is a very technological style that utilizes technology and the parts of theater in a similar way to theater cruelty, just less cruel. Bertolt Brecht, a famed playwright and writer, is often considered the father of epic theater. He's a Marxist, someone who agrees with the early ideas of communism, exiled from Germany and having to resort to doing film work in Hollywood during the 1930s. He also aligned himself with Dadaism, a theatrical style in which the art mocks the meaningless of the modern world, going against the standards of society. Brecht is well known for his plays The Threepenny Opera, The Caucasian Talk Circle, and Mother Courage and Her Children. As expected, he will be our last guest on this special to educate us on the minds behind epic theater.
Epic theater is intended to be a stripping down of the common conventions of the theater. Since the audience is in a theater for this performance, I believe that they should be treated as they know they're in the theater. Epic theater isn't meant to make the audience really believe in the characters they see on stage, but instead help the audience understand that what they're seeing on stage is just an account of past events. The alienation effect is a technique used by actors on the audience so that the audience is forced to view the play from an objective point of view and understand its deeper meaning instead of just walking away with a surface level understanding of what they just saw. The audience needs to be moved by the experience of the theater with a sense of self-awareness. Using projection screens and film, like a silent film, is one way that epic theater stands out from other styles. The crew is commonly visible to the audience, and they can also see all the scene changes taking place on stage, rather than a curtain dropping for that change to happen. Often the actors don't even walk on stage in character, only becoming that character when the lights come up on them, so their change is visible to the audience. The actors are exactly that, actors, and the audience knows this, so I think it's a good way to play off the audience's intellect and trust that they can understand the message I try to convey.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Brecht. I think this brings us to a close. Now that we witnessed live portrayals, recordings, and interviews with people who are experts in these modern styles of theater, I hope this presentation shows you that the stage doesn't just have to host the normal, realistic plays and musicals you see in the media. Just because absurdist and epic plays are less often portrayed on stage doesn't make them any less superior. Overall, theater of cruelty, theater of the absurd, and epic theater are three obscure and very interesting styles tied together with a similar outlook on the world. I hope that we have been able to educate you today, and remember, to get it is to not to get it, and to not to get it is to get it. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. We're beautiful. I'm coming to you live at the Fillmore next week.
Groupers.
Hello, well, wait. I can't see.
Oh.
Hello, well,
I can't see.
Eden, you all you have to say is.
Well, just wait. Tell him to get out the way.
No.
Hey, get off the set!
Shayla.
Let's go, guys.
Sarah, what are you doing? Sarah,